I followed him to Korea for love. But behind my back he told his friends he'd rather die than marry me. So I walked away that same night. And fate led me into the world of a Korean billionaire mafia boss. That night changed my life forever. Please like and subscribe, it helps the channel. The walls in Korean apartments are thinner than I expected. Thin enough that when Alana pressed her ear against the cold plaster separating their unit from the common hallway, she could hear everything. Every cruel syllable. Every careless laugh. Marry Alana? Man, I'd rather die. Marcus's voice carried that particular brand of confidence that comes with thinking you're among friends, among people who understand. The kind of confidence that makes men forget their girlfriend of 3 years is just one room away, unpacking boxes in a country she moved to for him. Alana's hands stilled on the sweater she'd been folding. Seoul's autumn air had turned sharp and she'd been thinking about warmth. Now she felt nothing but ice spreading through her chest. Seriously? That was Jake, Marcus's college friend who'd moved to Korea 2 years ago. Then why bring her here? The program required couples or family units for the housing stipend. You know how expensive Seoul is. Besides, she's convenient. Cooks, cleans, doesn't complain much. Marcus's laugh was easy practice. But marriage? To her? My parents would disown me. You know how it is. Alana stepped back from the wall. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, the carefully arranged furniture a mockery of the home she tried to build. She'd left her marketing job in Atlanta. Left her sister, her friends, her favorite coffee shop where they knew her order. Left everything because Marcus said this exchange program was their adventure, their future. She looked around the apartment with new eyes. The dishes in the sink were hers to wash. The laundry in the basket was hers to fold. The dinner in the refrigerator was hers to cook. Convenient. Her phone buzzed. Marcus, grabbing drinks with Jake. Don't wait up. Alana didn't respond. Instead, she pulled out her suitcase from the closet, the one she'd unpacked just 3 days ago. Her hands moved with methodical precision, folding clothes, gathering toiletries, collecting the pieces of a life she was about to walk away from. It took 45 minutes to pack 3 years of a relationship. Funny how little space love actually takes up when you measure it in luggage. She left her key on the counter. No note. Men who would rather die than marry you don't deserve explanations. The Seoul night swallowed her whole. October air bit at her skin as she dragged her suitcase down streets she barely knew, past signs she couldn't read, through a city that suddenly felt less like an adventure and more like a maze. Her phone's battery blinked at 15%. The international plan Marcus had promised to set up remained, of course, unfinished. Alana found herself in Gangnam, drawn by the lights and the crowds and the desperate hope that in a sea of people she might feel less alone. The streets pulsed with life, designer stores, expensive cars, beautiful people who all seemed to know exactly where they were going. She didn't notice the black sedan until it was too late. The car appeared from a side street, silent and swift. Alana stumbled backward, her suitcase tipping, spilling open on the pristine sidewalk. A red dress, the one she'd bought for the department dinner Marcus said they'd attend, unfurled like blood on concrete. The sedan's back door opened. A man emerged and Alana's breath caught. He was tall, unusual for Korean men she'd seen, with sharp features that suggested both danger and careful breeding. His suit probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. But it was his eyes that held her, dark, assessing, missing nothing. Are you hurt? His English was perfect, barely accented. I'm fine. Alana bent to gather her scattered belongings, heat flooding her cheeks. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. You're crying. She touched her face, surprised to find tears. When had she started crying? I'm fine, she repeated, but her voice cracked on the second word, betraying her. The man studied her for a long moment. Behind him, 2 other men had emerged from the car, silent and watchful in a way that made Alana's skin prickle. This wasn't a regular businessman. Everything about the scene, the expensive car, the late hour, the men who moved like shadows, whispered of something else. You have nowhere to go, he said. Not a question. Alana should have lied. Should have smiled and said she was fine, that her hotel was just around the corner, that she didn't need help from a stranger who looked like he'd walked out of a crime drama. Instead she told the truth. No. The man tilted his head slightly, considering. Then he made a decision. Get in the car. I don't even know your name. FAI. He picked up her suitcase as if it weighed nothing. And you were crying in Gangnam at midnight with nowhere to go. I think we're past the formality of introductions. Alana knew this was dangerous. Knew that getting into a car with a strange man in a foreign country was exactly the kind of mistake that ended badly. But she looked at FAI, really looked, and saw something in his eyes that wasn't predatory. If anything, he seemed curious, like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. Besides, what did she have to lose? Her relationship was over. Her living situation was gone. She was alone in Seoul with 15% battery and approximately $200 to her name. Alana, she said, making her own decision. My name is Alana. He got in the car. FAI's apartment was not an apartment. It was the entire top floor of a building in Cheongdam-dong, where Seoul's truly wealthy lived. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Han River, the city lights reflecting on the water like scattered diamonds. The interior was all clean lines and expensive art, minimalist in that way that only comes from having nothing to prove. Alana stood in the entrance, suddenly aware of her tear-stained face, her wrinkled clothes, her complete inappropriateness for this space. The guest room is this way. FAI moved through his home with easy familiarity, not bothering to turn on lights. The city's glow through the windows was illumination enough. There's a bathroom attached. Take what you need. Why are you helping me? He paused at a doorway, his profile sharp against the ambient light. Would you prefer I didn't? I'd prefer to understand. Understanding requires trust, Alana. Are you ready to trust me? She wasn't. But she was exhausted and heartbroken and standing in a stranger's penthouse at 1 a.m, so perhaps her judgment was already compromised. What do you do? She asked instead. That lets you afford all this? FAI's smile was slow, dangerous, honest. I run a family business. Import-export. Some people call it legitimate. Some don't. You're telling me you're a criminal. I'm telling you the world is more complicated than legal and illegal. But yes, if you need a simple answer, I operate outside conventional law. He leaned against the doorframe, completely relaxed. Does that frighten you? It should have. But Alana thought about Marcus, who followed every rule and still treated her like she was disposable. She thought about 3 years of being convenient, of being the girlfriend who wasn't quite good enough to marry. No, she said. It doesn't. Something shifted in FAI's expression, a spark of interest that hadn't been there before. Interesting. The guest room has clean towels. We'll talk in the morning. He left her there, alone in a room that was bigger than the apartment she'd shared with Marcus. Alana showered, washing away the day, the tears, the feeling of being small. The bathroom was marble and chrome, stocked with expensive products she didn't recognize. She dried off with towels softer than clouds and fell into a bed that felt like sleeping on air. She should have been afraid. Instead, she felt the strangest sense of possibility. Morning came with the smell of coffee and something sweet. Alana woke disoriented, the events of last night rushing back in a flood. She'd gotten into a car with a self-proclaimed criminal. She was in his penthouse. There's breakfast. FAI's voice carried from somewhere beyond her door. When you're ready. She dressed quickly in jeans and a sweater, finger-combed her curls into something presentable, and emerged to find FAI in the kitchen. He'd changed from last night's suit into dark slacks and a black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked younger in the morning light, maybe early 30s, and even more dangerous without the formal armor of business wear. Coffee. He poured without waiting for an answer, remembering somehow that she'd take it black. The breakfast spread was excessive. Pastries from what was clearly an expensive bakery, fresh fruit cut into perfect pieces, rice and side dishes for a traditional Korean breakfast. Alana sat at the counter, accepting the coffee cup with both hands. You didn't have to do all this. I didn't. My housekeeper did. FAI leaned against the counter opposite her, his own coffee steaming between his palms. Now, tell me why you were crying in Gangnam last night. Alana didn't want to talk about Marcus. Didn't want to give voice to the humiliation of overhearing those words. But FAI waited with the kind of patience that made silence uncomfortable, and somehow the story spilled out. When she finished, FAI was quiet for a long moment. Then, he's a fool. Maybe I'm the fool for not seeing it sooner. No. FAI's voice was firm. You trusted someone who didn't deserve it. That makes you brave, not foolish. He set down his coffee. How long is your exchange program? 6 months. Why? Stay here. Alana nearly dropped her cup. What? You need a place to live. I have space. Stay here, figure out your next move. No strings. People don't do things without strings, FAI. Then consider the strings transparent. You're interesting, Alana. You got into a car with a stranger who told you he was a criminal and you weren't afraid. You heard the worst thing your boyfriend could say and instead of begging him to love you, you left. I collect interesting people. I'm not a thing to be collected. His smile was sharp. No, you're definitely not. Which is exactly why I'm offering. You're in a new country going through a painful separation and probably questioning everything. Stay. Find yourself. When you're ready to leave, leave. It was insane. All of it. But Alana thought about finding another tiny apartment she couldn't afford, about running into Marcus on campus, about rebuilding a life from nothing while nursing a broken heart. Or she could stay here in this beautiful space with this dangerous, intriguing man who looked at her like she mattered. 1 month, she said. Trial period. For both of us. FAI extended his hand. 1 month. His grip was firm, warm, electric. When their hands touched, Alana felt something shift. The first tremor of an earthquake that would reshape everything. 3 weeks passed like a fever dream. FAI kept unusual hours, disappearing for meetings that happened at midnight and returning as dawn broke over Seoul. He never explained and Alana never asked, understanding instinctively that his world operated on different rules. But when he was home they talked. About everything and nothing. About her marketing career, his family's expectations, her dreams of starting her own agency, his careful navigation of legitimate business and the shadows beneath. He was teaching her Korean, not the textbook kind but the real language of the streets, peppered with slang and informal speech. She was teaching him to cook soul food, laughing as he meticulously measured ingredients for cornbread like he was preparing chemical compounds. You can't measure soul FAI, she'd said, watching him count out exactly 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Everything can be measured, he'd replied, but his eyes had been warm with amusement. They didn't touch beyond accidental brushes, his hand steadying her elbow when she stumbled, her fingers grazing his when passing the remote. But the air between them hummed with possibility. Alana caught him watching her sometimes, his expression unreadable but intense. He wondered what he saw. The shift happened on a Thursday night. FAI had invited her to a gallery opening, one of those glittering soul events where art served as backdrop for networking and power plays. He'd sent a dress to her room, black silk that hugged her curves and fell to mid-thigh, elegant and daring at once. You didn't have to, she'd said when she emerged. I wanted to. His eyes had traveled over her, slow and appreciative. You look devastating. The gallery was in Hanamdong, all white walls and dramatic lighting. Art collectors mixed with business moguls, celebrities, and people who radiated the kind of power that didn't need introduction. FAI moved through the crowd like he owned it, one hand resting lightly on the small of Alana's back. A gesture that looked casual but felt like claiming. He felt the stares. A black woman in Seoul already drew attention, but on FAI's arm wearing that dress she became something else entirely. She saw the calculation in people's eyes, the reassessment. Who was she? What was she to him? You're causing quite a stir, FAI murmured near her ear. Is that a problem? It's delicious. His hand pressed slightly firmer against her back. Let them wonder. They were examining a particularly violent abstract piece, all red slashes and dark undertones, when Alana heard a voice that made her blood run cold. Alana. She turned slowly. Marcus stood 10 feet away, Jake beside him, both of them in suits that looked cheap next to the room's general elegance. Marcus's eyes traveled from Alana to FAI to the dress to the comfortable way FAI's hand rested on her back. Marcus. Her voice was steady, proud of herself for that. What are you doing here? Jake's company got tickets. Marcus moved closer, his expression confused, hurt, angry. A mess of emotions he had no right to feel. What are you doing here? With him. I'm attending a gallery opening. Alana felt FAI shift slightly beside her. A predator recognizing threat. FAI, this is Marcus. Marcus, this is FAI. The two men sized each other up. It wasn't a fair comparison. Marcus with his off-the-rack suit and his grad student earnestness looked like a child next to FAI's tailored perfection and casual danger. Your boyfriend. FAI's tone was polite, but Alana heard the edge beneath. Ex-boyfriend, Alana corrected. I see. FAI extended his hand to Marcus, who shook it automatically. Alana has told me about you. Marcus paled slightly. What did she? We need to talk, Alana. Alone. No. The word felt powerful. Final. We don't. Alana, come on. You just left. No note, no explanation. I heard you, Marcus. She watched understanding dawn on his face, followed by panic. That night with Jake. How you'd rather die than marry me. How I'm convenient. Alana, I didn't mean, I was just talking, you know how guys are. I know exactly how you are. She felt FAI's presence beside her, solid and supporting without saying a word. And I'm done being convenient. Marcus's eyes darted between them, landing on FAI with something like desperation. Who even are you? Some rich Korean guy she latched onto. Careful. FAI's voice dropped low, dangerous. You're discussing the woman I care about. The words hung in the air. Alana's heart stopped, restarted, raced. She looked at FAI, who met her gaze steadily, confirming what he'd just said. The woman I care about. Marcus laughed, but it sounded hollow. Right. 3 weeks and you care about her? This is insane, Alana. Come home. We can work this out. Home. Alana felt something fierce and bright burning in her chest. You mean that apartment where I cooked and cleaned and made myself small enough to fit in your life? Where I was good enough to live with but not marry? That home. I never said. You said you'd rather die, Marcus. I'm just helping you live. She turned away, FAI's hand guiding her toward the exit. Behind them, Marcus called her name, but she didn't look back. Couldn't look back. She was walking away from 3 years, from the girl who would have begged him to love her, from every version of herself that settled for convenient. Outside, the October night had turned cold. FAI's driver appeared with the car as if summoned by telepathy. But before they got in, FAI turned Alana to face him, his hands gentle on her shoulders. Are you all right? I don't know. Alana felt shaky, electric, alive. He looked so small. He is small. You've just been standing too close to see it. FAI's thumb brushed her cheek, a touch so gentle it made her ache. What I said in there. The woman you care about? Yes. No hesitation. I meant it, Alana. These 3 weeks, getting to know you, watching you rebuild yourself. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. I don't do careful. I take what I want. But with you I want to be careful. You're worth being careful for. Alana's breath caught. FAI. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. Whatever you decide, wherever you go, you're not convenient. You're extraordinary. She kissed him. Couldn't help it. Rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his, tasting surprise and then hunger as his arms came around her, pulling her close. The kiss was fierce and desperate and perfect. 3 weeks of tension releasing in one combustible moment. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, FAI rested his forehead against hers. So much for careful, he murmured. Alana laughed, the sound bright and free. I don't want careful. I want real. Real I can do. He kissed her again, softer this time, a promise. Let's go home. Home. The word settled into Alana's chest, warm and right. Not the apartment she'd left. Not Atlanta. But FAI's penthouse, with its city views and its dangerous man and its possibility of becoming something more than she'd ever imagined. As the car pulled away from the gallery, Alana looked back once. Marcus stood on the sidewalk watching them leave, looking exactly like what he was. A man who'd had something precious and thrown it away. She felt no satisfaction in his obvious regret, no triumph. Just relief that she'd found the strength to walk away. Beside her, FAI's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining naturally. No regrets. Alana thought about overhearing those cruel words, about packing her suitcase, about stumbling into the path of a black sedan on a Seoul street. About every choice that had led her here to this moment, to this man who looked at her like she hung the stars. No regrets, she said. Only upgrades. His laugh was warm and genuine. I like the way you think. Through the car window, Seoul sparkled, no longer a maze but a canvas, full of possibility and second chances and new beginnings. Alana settled against FAI's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and smiled. Sometimes the worst thing that could happen was exactly what needed to happen. Sometimes you had to lose everything to find what you were worth. And sometimes, in the wreckage of what was, you found what could be. Marcus had said he'd rather die than marry her. Now, pressed against FAI as they drove through Seoul's electric night, Alana realized she'd rather live, really live, than spend one more second being someone's convenient choice. She was nobody's convenience anymore. She was FAI's extraordinary. And that made all the difference. Please like and subscribe and check out our playlist for more interesting stories you would like.